Subscribe to my YouTube channel, share it with your friends, and comment your thoughts. The blood-stained note. She stood motionless in the silent corridor, heart pounding like a war drum. A single overhead bulb flickered, casting long shadows between rows of identical lockers. In her hand was a note, its paper soaked in fresh blood, every letter jagged as if carved with malice. "You're next." She stared down at the words, muscles trembling. This was no prank. She could feel the wet sting of panic at her fingertips, the metallic scent of fear in her nose. A slow creak echoed, leather shoes scraping concrete. She whirled, chest tight, expecting someone, anyone, nothing. Just the empty hallway, frozen. In a deathly hush, Elena Cross swallowed, fighting the urge to scream. She should have, maybe, run. But something held her there, a whisper in her mind. Find out who did this. Every fiber of her being wanted to bolt, but she forced herself to stay still. She'd come to this school to teach, to help kids find their voices. Now, she was on the front lines of something else. Click. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. She yanked it out, thumb shaking, and saw the caller ID reading unknown. She answered, voice cracking. "Eleanor," said a voice she couldn't place. Cold, mechanical, disguised. "Leave now, or end up like him." She recognized the whisper, not the voice, but the rhythm, like a memory crawling back. Before she could reply, the call cut. She stared at the blank screen, pulse racing. "End up like him." The words sunk. In her breath hitched. Mr. Harris, the former science teacher, had died 2 weeks ago. His body found at the bottom of the stairwell, officials calling it an accident. Elena had scoffed then. She'd seen the bruise on his collarbone, the unnatural angle of his fall. Now she wondered if accident was just a word. She slid her fingers over the note again, words etched in red. "You're next," her jaw clenched. This wasn't about intimidation. It was a game, and someone knew exactly who she was. Earlier that year, Eleanor had started fresh in Willow Creek, a quiet town halfway down the map, where rumors died and truth was hidden beneath polite smiles. She'd thought the ghosts of her past couldn't follow her. She was wrong. Eleanor tucked the note into her coat pocket and backed away from the lockers. Every step sounded deafening in the hush. At the end of the hall lay room 207, her classroom and refuge. She pushed the heavy door open, been ready to lock it behind her, only to freeze at the sight inside. A cluster of students, 3 boys she'd noticed as troublemakers before, were staring at her, whispering. Not huddled like on break, but wide-eyed, anxious. Their leader, Carter, a tall senior with a nasty scar along his jaw, stepped forward. His posture was calm, but his grin was dangerous. "Everything okay, Miss Cross?" he asked, voice smooth as oil. Elena forced a smile. "Just found something in the hallway." She didn't add blood or threat, but she noticed the boys stiffen, eyes flicking to each other. Carter chuckled low. "You must be stressed on your first week. Teaching grade levels is hard. Nerves spike." She nodded slowly. "Maybe." The bell rang, a criminally sweet sound. "Time to go," she said, voice firm. Students moved to leave. Carter lingered by the door. He caught her eye, lips curling. "Good luck, Miss Cross." She locked the classroom behind her without looking back. The teacher's lounge felt like a lifeline. Inside, 3 colleagues chatted over stale coffee. A veteran counselor named Mrs. Daniels looked up as Elena entered, her warm expression flickering. "Elena, dear, you look pale. Everything all right?" Elena slipped into a chair and exhaled. "Just a rough hallway scare." Mrs. Daniels reached across the table, gentle. "Anything you want to share?" Eleanor swallowed. She wanted to tell them everything, blood, threats, intimidation. But not yet. Probably just pranksters. "I'll handle it." She forced a smile. Mrs. Daniels nodded, but eyes stayed concerned. By afternoon, the corridors buzzed with noon chatter. Elena tried to carry herself normally, but every footstep her own echoed like thunder. She avoided the freshman lockers, walked briskly to class, clutched her bag near the door like a shield. She taught physics, her favorite: waves, force, motion. Today she'd introduced projectile motion with a bowling ball and ramp. A few giggles, a few dropped notes. Then a crash. The ball, set to roll back and forth, smashed into her prototype demonstration model. The tabletop shook. Students jumped up, startled. A wave of hushed murmurs. Elena froze. Two of the trouble boys from earlier stood at the front, sizing her model with cold interest. Carter, arms folded, smirked, watching her reaction. She took a breath, measured voice. "Return to your seats, please." They shifted. The model lay in ruins, wires and broken parts spilling. "Accidents happen," she said, sounding steadier than she felt. She surveyed the class, kids wide-eyed, staring at the wreckage. Someone whispered, "That was on purpose." Her chest tightened. That voice came from a quiet freshman in glasses, an observant face that seemed to haunt her. She nodded. "Yes." After class, Carter found her as she packed up. "Rough day, teacher?" "Elena," she corrected, voice icy calm. "Yes, a rough day." He took a step closer. "You should watch your back. Some here don't play fair." She met his gaze without flinching. "I'm not here to play, I'm here to teach." He shrugged, hands in pockets. "Then don't cry foul when things get rough." He turned and walked away. His grin settled into a predator's curve. Eleanor reached for her phone and typed a message to Mrs. Daniels. "Need to talk. Urgent. Please." Later, after the last student left and the sun dipped beyond the windows, Elena returned to the scene of the note. Her locker. She unlocked it, not expecting it to open. Inside, nothing. No note, no evidence. The paper gone, as if it never existed. Her heart hammered. She tore through her pockets. Bag, coat, nothing. Someone had taken it. Why? She whispered to the emptiness, because it was a promise, because it meant more than words. In the empty lounge, Mrs. Daniels sat waiting, her face etched with worry. When Elena entered, she exhaled hard, collapsing into a chair beside her. "I found it, Mrs. Daniels," she said, voice low and raw. Daniels leaned forward. "Tell me." They talked quietly. Locker's threats, the broken demo, Carter's warning. Mrs. Daniels didn't gasp or panic. Instead, she nodded thoughtfully. "I'll alert the principal," she said. "We can't ignore this." Eleanor shook her head. "Not yet. I want to know what I'm dealing with. If we involve administrators too soon, you fear cover-up?" "I do." Elena's voice dipped. "And something tells me this is bigger than playground threats. Someone's testing me." Daniels placed a hand over hers. "If you want help investigating, if you want someone to stand with you, I'll help." Elena swallowed. Hope flickered. Maybe she wasn't alone after all. That night, Elena lay awake in her rented apartment. Newbie furniture, boxes still unpacked. Everything felt temporary, fragile. She thought of her father's advice on her first day teaching. Stand your ground, kiddo. Now it was time to stand. She replayed the day in her mind. Every twitch, every laugh, every step. She knew one thing: someone wanted her out, and they were ready to play. Her phone buzzed again. A message from an unknown number. "You're a good teacher. Shame you can't keep secrets." Her breath caught. "Keep secrets." She sat upright, heart pounding. She pressed her thumb to copy the message. She'd show it to Mrs. Daniels tomorrow. Tomorrow, she'd fight back, because she wasn't just a teacher. She was a survivor, and those bullies, whoever they were, had no idea whose fury they'd unleashed. Cliffhanger. Who is sending the threats, and what secret do they know? Was Mr. Harris really an accident? How many are involved, and how far will they go? The hidden truth. The sun rose blood orange, slicing through the blinds of Elena's apartment. She sat at her kitchen table, cup of coffee cold and untouched, eyes locked on her phone screen. The message from the unknown number. "You're a good teacher. Shame you can't keep secrets." burned into her mind. What secret? She thought. Back to the blood-stained note in her locker, the missing evidence, Carter's smug grin, the broken demonstration, the phone call. Something didn't fit. She felt a rush of heat in her chest, a spark of the old fire she'd buried when she'd left her last job in Philadelphia. Back then, she'd trusted the system to protect her. Instead, she'd been left alone to fight. For herself. This time she wouldn't wait for help. She pulled up her messages and typed, Elena. Mrs. Daniels, I need to talk. Private. It's urgent. No reply yet. She set her phone down and stared at the table. The shadows around her seemed to lengthen with every second, crawling up the walls like dark fingers. She glanced at the clock. 7:05 a.m. She'd have to leave soon or risk being late. She couldn't give the bullies any more reasons to target her. Willow Creek High bustled with its usual morning chaos. Students huddled in groups, backpacks thumping against lockers. Elena pushed through, her eyes scanning faces. Carter wasn't in the hallway yet. Ms. Cross. She turned at the sound of her name and found Mrs. Daniels hurrying toward her, her expression taut. Elena, I saw your message, she said, pulling her aside. Are you okay? Elena nodded, but her voice was tight. No, I think someone's watching me, and she paused, voice dropping. I think they know something about me. Daniel's brow furrowed. What do you mean? Elena hesitated. Could she really trust Mrs. Daniels with the truth? She took a shaky breath. Before I came here, I taught in Philadelphia. I reported a colleague who was abusive to students. He retaliated, spread rumors. I had to leave. I thought it was over, but she gestured helplessly. This feels like that all over again. Daniel's eyes softened. Elena, listen to me. You did the right thing then, and you're doing the right thing now. But this... She shook her head. This is different. We can't let them win. Elena felt tears prick her eyes. She blinked them away, refusing to let them fall. I know, but I can't help feeling like I'm walking into a trap. Daniels squeezed her hand. You're not alone. I'll talk to Principal Marshall. We'll figure this out. Elena nodded, grateful but still uneasy. Thank you. I don't know who to trust anymore. Daniels gave her a sad smile. Start with me. First period felt like wading through quicksand. Elena forced herself to focus on equations and diagrams, but every time the door creaked or a student shifted, she jumped. Halfway through class, her phone buzzed on the desk. She glanced down. Another unknown number. Unknown. Tell the truth or pay the price. She felt her stomach drop. She forced her face to remain calm, but her fingers trembled. She looked up. Carter sat in the back row, eyes locked on her, lips curled in a smirk. She swallowed hard. During lunch, she found a quiet corner in the library. Her head pounded. Thoughts racing. Who was sending the messages? Carter, one of the other boys? She opened her laptop and began typing keywords into the search bar. Willow Creek High, Mr. Harris, death investigation. Most of the articles were generic, accidental. Fall, teacher mourned. No foul play suspected. But one article caught her eye, buried at the bottom of the page. Local teachers' death sparks, rumors of bullying. It quoted an anonymous student. Mr. Harris said he was being harassed by some kids. He was scared. Said they were messing with him. Elena's chest tightened. She scrolled further. No follow-up, no names. She clenched her jaw. They did it to him, and now they're trying to do it to me. Her phone buzzed again. Unknown number. Unknown. Ask about room 311. The truth is there. Her pulse raced. Room 311. She didn't even know that classroom existed, at least not officially. She stood abruptly, nearly knocking her chair over. Elena navigated the hallway like a ghost, head down, eyes flicking from door to door. She passed classrooms 305, 306, 307, then stopped at the end of the hall. There it was, room 311. The door was marked as storage. She tried the handle. Locked. She pressed her ear to the door, listening. Nothing. A janitor's cart rattled by and she jumped back, pretending to check her phone. The janitor, an older man with a limp, gave her a suspicious look. "Something I can help you with, miss?" he asked. Elena shook her head. "No, sorry. Just looking for a quiet place to grade papers." He eyed her, unconvinced. "Ain't nothing in that room but old desks and boxes." She forced a smile. "Thanks." She turned away, heart hammering. That afternoon, during her free period, she decided to confront Carter. She found him in the courtyard, surrounded by his friends. He saw her coming, his grin wide. "Ms. Cross," he drawled. "To what do we owe the pleasure?" She folded her arms. "Enough with the games. I know you're behind the messages." His grin widened. "Messages? I don't know what you're talking about." She took a step closer, voice low. You think you can scare me? I've been through worse." His eyes darkened. "Worse than what's coming." Her blood ran cold. "Is that a threat?" He leaned back, smirking. "Maybe." She clenched her jaw, refusing to let him see her fear. "I won't be intimidated, Carter. And when I find out what happened to Mr. Harris, you're going down with the rest of them." His face hardened. "Careful, Miss Cross. Some secrets are better left buried." After school, Eleanor made her way back to room 311. The hallway was deserted. She glanced around, then slipped a hairpin from her pocket, an old trick she'd learned from her father. She jimmied the lock and eased the door open. Inside, dust motes danced in the fading light. Stacks of boxes lined the walls. She moved deeper, heart pounding. In the far corner, she found a battered metal filing cabinet. She yanked open the top drawer. Papers spilled out, yellowed and brittle. She flipped through them. Student records, old lesson plans. Then her eyes caught something, an envelope marked "Mr. Harris, confidential." She tore it open. Inside was a handwritten note. "They know. Don't trust anyone. Room 311. The video is hidden." Her breath caught. A video? What video? She searched the cabinet, fingers trembling, until her hand closed around a flash drive. She pulled it out, heart in her throat. Suddenly, the door slammed shut behind her. She spun, adrenaline surging. In the darkness, a silhouette stepped forward. "You shouldn't have come here, Miss Cross," the voice growled. Elena's heart raced. "Who are you?" The figure stepped into the dim light, broad-shouldered, a hood pulled low. He lifted a hand. In it, a phone screen glowed. He pressed play. Elena's own face appeared on the screen, recorded in her classroom. She was talking to Mrs. Daniels, telling her about Philadelphia, about the colleague, about the threats. Her blood ran cold. "You see, Ms. Cross," the figure said, voice dripping with malice, "everyone has secrets." She backed away. "Who are you?" she demanded, voice trembling but defiant. He pulled the hood back, and Elena gasped. "Principal Marshall?" she whispered. His smile was cold. "You should have left when you had the chance." Cliffhanger. Why is Principal Marshall involved? What's on the video drive? Can Elena expose the truth before it's too late? The secret betrayal. Elena stared at Principal Marshall, the man who had smiled so kindly on her first day. Now his face was a mask of cold calculation, eyes gleaming with something she couldn't name. Satisfaction. Hatred. He took a step closer. The dusty air seemed to thicken around them. "You shouldn't have come here," he repeated, his voice low, almost regretful. "I gave you every chance to leave this alone." Elena's mouth was dry. "Why?" she croaked. "Why are you doing this?" Marshall gave a humorless laugh. "Because, Ms. Cross, some secrets are too dangerous to let out. Mr. Harris was a good teacher, but he couldn't keep his mouth shut." Elena's mind reeled. You had something to do with his death?" Marshall's face darkened. Harris got in too deep. He started recording things, thinking he'd be the hero, but he didn't understand the stakes. Elena clenched the flash drive in her hand. "What stakes?" Marshall's eyes flicked to the drive. Give me that. Elena shook her head. No, not until you tell me everything. Marshall sighed. Ms. Cross, you're smarter than you look, but even you can't fight the truth. He reached into his pocket, pulling out a small switchblade. Elena's pulse spiked. Marshall's voice dropped to a whisper. I won't let you ruin everything I've built here. Elena backed away, heart slamming against her ribs. Her mind raced. Think, you've faced worse. You can beat him. She glanced at the shelves, the boxes, the clutter. Use the environment, Marshall lunged. She ducked, swinging her bag at him. It hit his shoulder, sending him off balance. She scrambled past him, dodging his grasp. Get back here, he roared. Elena darted behind the filing cabinet, scanning for something, anything, to defend herself. Her eyes landed on a heavy metal rod propped against the wall. She grabbed it just as Marshall rounded the cabinet. His knife flashed. She swung the rod, connecting with his arm. The knife clattered to the floor. He cursed, clutching his wrist. Elena didn't hesitate. She ran for the door, wrenching it open and bolting down the hallway. Marshall's voice echoed behind her. You can't run forever, Elena. She didn't. Stop running until she reached the main office. Breathless, she burst through the door. Mrs. Daniels jumped to her feet. Elena? What happened? Elena slammed the flash drive on the desk. He tried to kill me. Marshall, he's behind all of it. He was blackmailing Harris. Harris recorded something. I don't know what's on this drive, but it's the proof we need. Daniels' face went pale. Marshall? That's insane. Elena shook her head. No, it's not. He's been protecting Carter and the others. He threatened me. We have to show this to the police. Daniels reached for the drive. Let me see. But Elena hesitated. Something in Daniels' eyes, a flicker of hesitation, a shadow, made her stomach twist. Mrs. Daniels, you're on my side, right? Daniels' hand hovered over the drive. Of course, Elena. I've always been on your side. Elena's breath caught. Then why didn't you warn me? Daniel's eyes hardened. I tried, but you didn't listen. You had to dig deeper. Elena's mind spun. You knew? About Marshall? Daniels's voice was barely a whisper. I had to. He's not the only one who's been protecting this school. We've all made sacrifices. Elena's heart sank. Sacrifices. Daniel's expression was sad. Sometimes, to protect the whole, you have to let some things go. Harris couldn't accept that. Neither can you. Elena's hand clenched around the flash drive. You're part of this. Daniel's shoulders slumped. I didn't want to be, but he has dirt on all of us. My husband, my son, things that would destroy us. We had to play along. Tears blurred Elena's vision. You let them torture Harris. You let them bully me. Daniel's voice cracked. I'm sorry, Elena, I truly am. But if you hand over that drive, we can make this all go away. Elena shook her head. No, I'm done letting people like Marshall control my life. I'm taking this to the police. Daniels lunged for the drive. Don't! Elena dodged her grasp and ran. She burst out of the office, nearly colliding with Carter and his crew in the hallway. Carter's eyes lit up, a predator's grin spreading across his face. Running away, Miss Cross, he taunted. Elena's chest heaved. Get out of my way, Carter. Carter stepped forward, blocking her path. Or what? You'll call the police? We own them. Marshall made sure of that. Elena's hand tightened on the drive. Not this time. Carter's smile faded. You really think you can beat us? Elena felt a surge of defiance. I don't have to beat you. I just have to tell the truth. Carter's eyes narrowed. Bad move, Ms. Cross, he lunged. Elena ducked and swung her knee up, connecting hard with his stomach. Carter let out a choked gasp and crumpled to the floor. His friends froze, eyes wide. Elena turned and ran. Outside, the late afternoon sun burned bright. Elena stumbled into the parking lot, scanning for her car. She spotted it, and a figure leaning against the hood. Detective Ramirez. His eyes locked on hers, sharp and suspicious. Ms. Cross, we need to talk. Elena clutched the drive. Detective, you have to help me. Principal Marshall tried to kill me. He's behind everything. Mr. Harris, the bullying, the threats. It's all on here. She thrust the flash. Drive at him. Ramirez took it, his expression unreadable. You're sure about this? Eleanor nodded fiercely. Yes. You have to protect me. They're all in on it. Even Mrs. Daniels. Ramirez's jaw tightened. Okay, let's get you. Somewhere safe. He opened the car door. Elena slid inside, heart hammering. As Ramirez slid into the driver's seat, he turned to her. Elena, you did the right thing. She let out a shaky breath. Thank you. He started the car. We're going to get to the bottom of this, I promise. They drove in tense silence. Elena's mind buzzed with everything that had happened. The threats, the lies, the betrayal. Finally, Ramirez pulled into a small motel parking lot on the edge of town. Why are we stopping here? Elena asked. Ramirez turned to her, his expression hard. Because, Ms. Cross, some things are better kept secret. He held up the flash drive. Elena's eyes widened. Wait, what are you? Ramirez's smile was cold. You're not the only one who knows how to play both sides. He pocketed the drive. Elena's world shattered. You're with them. Ramirez leaned closer. This town has a way of dealing with problems, Ms. Cross. Harris didn't get that. You should have. Elena's hands trembled. Please, Ramirez shook his head. Sorry, you made yourself a problem. He opened the door. Elena's pulse thundered. No, not like this. She lunged, shoving the door open and bolting into the night. Behind her, Ramirez cursed and gave chase. She ran, feet pounding the pavement, lungs burning. She had no plan, no backup, just her own strength. She ducked into an alley, heart pounding. Ramirez's footsteps echoed behind her, slow and methodical. Elena. His voice drifted through the darkness. You can't run forever. She crouched behind a dumpster, forcing her breath to slow. Think. Use your training. She remembered her father's words. Stay calm. Use your opponent's arrogance. Ramirez's shadow loomed at the alley's mouth. This is your last chance. Miss Cross, come out and maybe I'll make it quick. She waited, muscles tensed. He took another step. She moved. With a burst of speed, she slammed into him, catching him off guard. He stumbled back, cursing. She grabbed the pepper spray from her pocket, a gift from her sister, and emptied it into his eyes. He screamed, clutching his face. She didn't wait. She bolted down the alley, heart hammering. She had to find help. She had to expose the truth. At the end of the alley, a familiar figure waited. Mrs. Daniels. Elena. Daniels cried, Are you okay? Elena skidded to a halt, chest heaving. You have to help me. Ramirez, he's working with Marshall. They took the drive. Daniels' eyes widened. We have to get out of here. I have a safe place. Elena hesitated. Daniels reached out. Please, Elena, trust me. Elena's mind spun. Could she trust her? But footsteps thundered behind them. Ramirez, his face streaked with tears, stumbled into the alley. There she is, he roared. Daniels! Grabbed Elena's hand. Run! They ran. Cliffhanger. Can Elena trust Mrs. Daniels, or is she walking into another trap? Will she ever find someone who's truly on her side? Can she expose the truth before it's too late? Into the trap Elena's feet pounded against the uneven pavement as she ran beside Mrs. Daniels. Her lungs burned, every breath a ragged gasp. The darkness pressed around them like a living thing, heavy with shadows. Mrs. Daniels' hand was a vice around Elena's wrist, guiding her through the labyrinth of alleys. This way, she hissed, turning sharply down a narrow path that smelled of rotting garbage. Behind them, Detective Ramirez's shouts echoed, raw with fury and desperation. Elena, you can't run from the truth. Elena's mind was a storm. Who can I trust? They emerged into a quiet back street lined with abandoned shops and boarded-up windows. Daniel stopped, breathless, and pressed a trembling hand to her chest. "In here," she said, shoving open the door of a crumbling building. Elena hesitated. "Where are we?" Daniel's eyes darted nervously. "An old maintenance shed. No one uses it anymore. We can hide here, just until we figure out what to do." Elena's gut twisted. Something felt off. But Ramirez's footsteps grew louder. Closer. She had no choice. They ducked inside. The air was damp and smelled of mold. A single overhead bulb flickered, casting long, jerky shadows. Daniel slammed the door shut and locked it. Elena pressed her back to the wall, chest heaving. "Why did you help me?" Daniel sank onto a broken crate, her face pale and drawn. "Because I was like you once." Elena stared. "Like me?" Daniel's eyes brimmed with tears. "I came here to teach, to help kids. But the corruption, the threats, it broke me." She shook her head. "Marshall, Ramirez, Carter, they have dirt on everyone. They control the school board, the town council, even the local press." Elena's mind spun. "Then why protect them?" Daniel's voice cracked. "Because they threatened my family. My son was in a car accident years ago. It was Carter's fault. He was driving drunk. But they covered it up. They told me if I didn't cooperate, they'd ruin my son's life." Elena's heart ached. That's horrible." Daniels clutched Elena's hand. "You're strong, Elena. Stronger than I was. You can end this." Elena's voice was hoarse. "But how?" "Ramirez took the flash drive. It's over." Daniel's eyes glimmered. "No, there's still a way." She reached into her coat pocket and pulled out a small, battered cassette recorder. "Mr. Harris gave me this before he died. He knew they'd come after him. He said if anything happened, to give it to someone who could fight back." Eleanor took the recorder, her hands trembling. "What's on it?" Daniel shook her head. "I don't know. I never dared to listen, but it might be enough to take them down." A faint knock rattled the door. Both women froze. "Elena!" Ramirez's voice slithered through the crack like poison. "I know you're in there." Daniels's eyes widened. "Hide now." Elena ducked behind a stack of crates, just as the door creaked open. Ramirez stepped inside, his gun drawn, his eyes gleaming with cold triumph. "Mrs. Daniels," he said softly, "thank you for your cooperation." Daniels stiffened. "No, I didn't." Ramirez fired once. Daniels crumpled to the ground, eyes glassy, her blood pooling across the cracked floor. Elena clapped a hand over her mouth, fighting a scream. Ramirez stepped forward, his gaze sweeping the room. "Come out, Elena, let's talk." She crouched lower, her heart hammering. Ramirez's footsteps moved closer. "You can't hide forever. Give me the recorder, and maybe I'll let you live." "No, no more running." Elena gripped the recorder and scanned the crates. A broken metal rod, the same type she'd used against Marshall, lay nearby. She remembered her father's voice. "Use what you have. Don't fight strength with strength. Use your mind." Ramirez's footsteps stopped. Last chance. Elena lunged from her hiding spot, swinging the rod at his gun hand. The weapon flew across the room. Ramirez cursed and swung at her, but she ducked, driving her knee into his stomach. He staggered back, gasping. Elena scrambled for the gun, grabbing it just as Ramirez lunged again. She turned, trembling, and aimed the barrel at his chest. Don't come any closer," she said, her voice shaking but steady. Ramirez's eyes widened. "You won't shoot." Elena's finger tightened on the trigger. "Try me." Ramirez took a step. Bang! He collapsed. The bullet lodged in his shoulder. He screamed, clutching the wound. Elena backed away, breathing hard. "Don't move." She grabbed the recorder and ran, leaving Ramirez groaning on the ground. Outside, the night air hit her like a slap. She stumbled into the street, the gun still in her hand, blood on her clothes. A police cruiser screeched to a halt in front of her. Officers jumped out, weapons drawn. "Drop the gun!" one of them shouted. Elena's head spun. "No, listen!" To me, they tackled her, pinning her to the ground. The gun skittered across the pavement. "Miss Cross, you're under arrest for assault and attempted murder," the officer barked. Eleanor screamed. "No, Ramirez. He killed Mrs. Daniels. He's part of it." But the officers didn't listen. They cuffed her roughly, dragging her to her feet. A familiar figure emerged from the shadows. Principal Marshall. His face was solemn, but his eyes glittered with victory. "Miss Cross," he said softly, "you've caused enough trouble." Elena's voice was hoarse. You can't get away with this." Marshall leaned in close, his breath hot against her ear. "It's over, Elena. The town will believe me over you. They always do." Elena's heart crumpled. She had the recorder, but she was cuffed, helpless. Marshall's smile was cold. "Take her away." The officers shoved her into the back of the cruiser. As the car pulled away, Eleanor's mind spun. It's not over. It can't be over. She had one chance left. She closed her eyes, remembering Mr. Harris's voice, his trust in her. "I won't let you down." Cliffhanger. Will Elena find a way to get the evidence to the right hands? Can she survive the town's powerful enemies? And who, if anyone, will believe her story? The evidence must speak. The metal bars of the holding cell felt as cold as the betrayal that gripped Elena's heart. She sat on the thin mattress, arms hugging her knees to her chest. Every sound, the distant clang of doors, the muffled voices of officers, set her nerves on edge. Somewhere in this small-town station, Principal Marshall was probably basking in his victory. Ramirez would be getting patched up and plotting his next move. And Mrs. Daniels. Elena's heart clenched at the memory of the woman's lifeless eyes, the blood pooling around her. The recorder felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds in her pocket. The battered cassette tape, Harris's dying insurance policy, was the only thing that could bring the truth to light. But how? A guard appeared at the door, his eyes hard. "You got a visitor?" Elena's pulse quickened. Who would visit me now? He led her down the corridor to a small interview room. Elena's breath caught when she saw the person waiting. Detective Ramirez. His arm was in a sling, his shirt stained with dried blood, but his eyes were sharp, calculating. "Sit down," he said. Elena obeyed. Muscles coiled tight. Ramirez leaned forward. "You made quite a mess tonight." Elena met his gaze with a steady fire. "You killed Mrs. Daniels," he chuckled, low and cold. "An unfortunate accident." She panicked, tried to run. "I had no choice." Eleanor's lip curled. "You always have a choice, but you protect your friends, right? Like Marshall, like Carter." Ramirez's smile faded. "You have no idea what you're getting yourself into." She leaned forward. "Maybe I do. Maybe I've got enough to bring you all down." His eyes narrowed. "You think that little tape recorder is going to save you?" Elena's heart skipped. "He knows." Ramirez's smile returned, snake-like. "We know all about it, and we'll find it. And when we do—" He leaned in so close she could smell his cologne, sharp and bitter. "No one will believe you." Elena forced herself to remain calm. "You're scared," she whispered. "That's why you're here." He slammed his hand on the table, making her jump. "No, I'm here to give you one last chance to make this easy on yourself." Elena's voice was a cold, steady flame. "I won't give you anything." He stared at her for a long moment, his jaw tight. Then he stood. "Have it your way." He rapped on the door, and the guard appeared. Ramirez gave her a final, chilling look before he left. The guard grunted. "Back to your cell." Elena stumbled to her feet, head spinning. "They know about the recorder." As she walked back to the cell, her mind raced. "If they search me, it's over." She had to get the tape to someone, anyone who would listen. But who? "Use your mind. Don't fight strength with strength." The words rang in her head. She reached her cell just as another officer appeared, a young woman with tired eyes and a kind face. "Here you go," the guard said, unlocking the door and shoving Elena inside. The woman lingered. "You okay?" she asked softly. Elena hesitated. Could I trust her? The woman glanced around nervously. "Listen, I saw what happened tonight. You look terrified. I don't think you're the monster they're saying you are." Elena's heart raced. "Please," she whispered, "I need your help." The woman's eyes darted to the hallway. "I'm risking my job just talking to you." Elena pressed the recorder into her hands. This is everything. They killed Mrs. Daniels. They're covering it all up. If you can get this to the press, or..." The woman's eyes widened. Footsteps echoed down the hall. Ramirez was back, his face like thunder. Elena's blood turned to ice. "Please." The woman made a split-second decision, slipping the recorder into her uniform pocket and stepping away. Ramirez pushed past her, glaring. "Get lost," he snapped. The woman nodded and left, her eyes lingering on Elena for a heartbeat. Ramirez turned his attention to Elena. "We're going to search this cell top to bottom. I know you have that tape. And when I find it..." Elena lifted her chin. "Then what? Another cover-up? Another dead body?" Ramirez's lips curled into a sneer. "Don't push me." He turned and barked orders to the guards. "Tear this place apart." Elena watched them rip her mattress, search every crevice, but they wouldn't find it. "Please," she prayed, "let that officer get it out." Outside the station, Officer Linda Parker stood by her car, her heart pounding. She felt like she was holding a live bomb in her pocket. This could destroy everything, she thought, but then she remembered the desperation in Elena's eyes. She knew the local press wouldn't help. Most of them were in Marshall's pocket. But maybe... She reached into her glove compartment and pulled out her phone. There was one reporter she'd met on a domestic violence call a few months ago. He'd seemed honest, relentless. His name was Jason Lee. Her hands shook as she dialed. "Jason Lee," a gruff voice answered. "Jason, it's Officer Parker. I need your help." "Parker, what's wrong?" "It's about Elena Cross, the teacher they arrested tonight. She's innocent, and I have something that proves it." Jason's voice turned sharp. "Where are you?" Parker gave him the location. "Meet me behind the diner in 20 minutes and come alone." She hung up, every instinct screaming that she was in over her head, but she couldn't back down now. Inside the station, Ramirez stormed back into Elena's cell, fury in his eyes. "Where is it?" Elena didn't flinch. "You'll never find it." Ramirez's fist slammed the wall inches from her head. "You think you're a hero? You're nothing. We run this town. We always have." Elena's voice was steady, even as her legs trembled. "Not anymore." Ramirez's smile was cold. "You'll wish you'd never come here." He turned and barked at the guards. "No visitors, no phone calls. She stays locked down." Elena watched him go, her heart pounding with a mix of terror and hope. "Please, Parker, please." Outside, rain began to fall. Officer Parker waited in the shadows. Behind the diner, every sound making her jump. A pair of headlights swept the alley. Jason Lee's old sedan rolled to a stop. He jumped out, his notepad already in hand. "Parker," he called. She ran to him, breathless. "Jason, here." She pressed the recorder into his hands. "Listen to it. Publish it. Expose them." Jason's eyes widened. "What is this?" Parker's voice shook. "Proof that Elena's telling the truth, that Marshall and Ramirez and the others..." Suddenly, a blinding light flooded the alley. Tires screeched. A black SUV roared up, its engine growling like an animal. Ramirez's voice thundered, "Parker!" Parker's eyes went wide. "Run, Jason!" She screamed. He grabbed the recorder and bolted into the night just as the SUV's doors flew open and two men leaped out. Parker turned, gun drawn. "Stop!" But they were too fast. They tackled her, wrenching the gun from her hand. She fought, but a fist slammed into her jaw, sending her sprawling. Ramirez stepped out, his eyes blazing. "You stupid girl! You think you can beat us?" Parker spat blood, her vision blurry. "It's too late. He has it." Ramirez's face twisted with rage. Then we'll find him, he turned to his men. Bring her and get me Lee. Meanwhile, Jason Lee ran through the rain-soaked streets, heart pounding, recorder clutched to his chest. This is bigger than any story I've ever written, he thought. He glanced back, seeing the SUV roar after him. But I can't stop now. The recorder's plastic shell felt warm in his hand, like a lifeline. He ducked into an alley, praying he could lose them, for Eleanor, for the truth. Cliffhanger. Will Jason escape with the evidence? Can Elena hold on long enough for help to come? And just how far will Marshall and Ramirez go to silence the truth? The truth strikes back. Rain poured from the night sky like a punishment from the heavens. Jason Lee stumbled through the darkened alleyways, the tape recorder clutched in his hand. Every shadow threatened to leap at him. Every footstep behind him sounded too close, too determined. His heart pounded. Elena's counting on me. The truth is counting on me. He ducked into an abandoned laundromat, his breath ragged. He could hear the SUV's engine revving nearby, headlights slicing through the rain. They're hunting me like an animal. He pulled out his phone and hit record. This is Jason Lee, he gasped. I'm being chased by police connected to Principal Marshall and Detective Ramirez. I have evidence. Elena Cross is innocent. I'm going to upload this. A crash at the door. Ramirez's men were inside. Jason's pulse spiked. He bolted through a side door, out into the alley. A figure loomed ahead. Officer Parker, blood dripping from her lip, hands bound. "Run, Jason!" she cried, but it was too late. Ramirez lunged from the darkness, tackling Jason to the ground. The recorder skidded away, landing in a puddle. "You really think you could beat us?" Ramirez sneered, his breath hot and sour. Jason struggled, but Ramirez's hand clamped around his throat. "No, I can't die here. Elena needs me." Suddenly, a voice pierced the chaos. "Drop it, Ramirez." Ramirez froze. Slowly, he turned. There, standing in the pouring rain, was Elena Cross, eyes blazing, her posture unshakable. "You're supposed to be locked up," Ramirez spat. Elena's gaze didn't waver. "And you're supposed to protect the innocent. But we both know you sold your soul a long time ago." Ramirez's smirk twisted. "You have no idea how this works, lady. You'll disappear, and no one will remember your name." Elena stepped forward, fists clenched. "I'm not going to disappear. I'm going to end this." Ramirez pulled his gun, pointing it straight at her chest. "Then let's finish it," he hissed. For a heartbeat, time froze. Rain hammered down. Jason lay gasping, eyes wide. Parker strained against her bonds. Elena's eyes narrowed. "Focus. Remember your training." Ramirez's finger curled on the trigger, and Elena moved. A swift pivot. A sharp, upward kick knocked the gun from his hand. She followed with a vicious elbow to his jaw, sending him sprawling. He scrambled, dazed. "You bitch!" She was on him in an instant. Years of training flowed through her, every strike precise, every move fueled by the fury of a woman who had lost everything. She pinned him to the ground, his own handcuffs now biting into his wrists. "Game over," she spat. Jason crawled to the recorder, hand trembling as he pressed play. Ramirez's voice crackled. "She's just a teacher. We'll pin it all on her." Daniels was getting too close. She had to go. Parker's tears mixed with the rain as she listened. "You did it. You got the truth." Jason's voice shook. "We have enough to bury them." Eleanor's heart pounded. "Let's make sure everyone hears it." Hours later, dawn broke over the town. A crowd had gathered outside the police station, reporters, neighbors, parents. Jason Lee stood on the steps, recorder in hand, Parker at his side. He raised the device to the microphone. "This is the voice of Detective Ramirez, confessing to the murder of Mrs. Daniels and the conspiracy against Elena Cross." The crowd erupted. Gasps, shouts. Elena, standing beside Parker, felt her knees tremble. She'd fought so long, so hard, to bring the truth to light. The station doors burst open. Ramirez, now cuffed and bruised, was led out by internal affairs officers. His eyes met Elena's, rage and defeat tangled in his glare. Principal Marshal followed, his face pale. And drawn, Elena stepped forward. "Your reign of terror is over," she said, her voice trembling with strength. Marshal spat at her feet. "You think you've won? This town eats people like you alive." Elena held his gaze. "Maybe. But at least the truth is out." An officer read Marshal and Ramirez their rights, their words lost in the roar of the crowd. Later, as the sun rose, Jason approached Elena. "You're a hero, you know that?" Elena shook her head, eyes soft. "No, just a survivor." He smiled, then held up his phone. "What now?" She looked at the sky, rain-washed and clean. "Now I teach, and maybe, just maybe, this town can heal." Parker hugged her, tears streaming down her face. "You saved us all, Elena." Elena hugged her back, strength flowing from every heartbeat. "Sometimes," she whispered, "you have to lose everything to find who you really are." She turned to Jason. "Write that down," he grinned. "Already did." And as the sun rose higher, Elena Cross stood tall, no longer just a teacher, but a fighter, a truth-teller, and a beacon of hope. Because in the end, the bullies who tried to break her unleashed a strength they couldn't imagine, a strength that refused to be silenced. The end